Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from PaulthePoke.com. We are This Week in Prophecy, September 14, 2022, and you are looking at the YouTube page of one Yehuda Glick, founder of Shalom Jerusalem Foundation. He's previously a member of Israelis Knesset. He's born in America. He is an Orthodox rabbi. And he believes in the rebuilding of the third temple, believes it should be there for the whole world as a place of worship. Would be a blessing to the whole world. And as part of the month of Elul and the season of Teshuvah, or repent in the Hebrew, he took to the Temple Mount with his cell phone and a recording of a shofar blast. Now, the police up there, he was arrested by Israeli police, was told you can't do that. He said, I'd hate to think what happened if I went up there with a real shofar. But nonetheless, he's across the way. As you can see the Temple Mount in the background of all these. I think he's on the Mount of Olives across the valley from the Temple Mount, and he's blowing his shofar there. Now, don't kid yourself. If that man gets clearance to go blow the shofar on top of the Temple Mount, I have absolute confidence he will go over there and do it. For any of you folks who followed this blog long enough, he is very much a man of intrigue and interest to me. He has survived assassination attempts, been shot at close range, survived, lived to tell about it. He's an activist. And that's not necessarily a nasty, dirty word, is the way it's used here in the United States. But nonetheless, here we are in the month of Elul. We're winding down. We've got about maybe 10 to 13 days. If you're following a secular calendar, that's going to be due up, I believe, on Friday or Saturday here on the 25th, 26th. If you're following a more traditional calendar and marking time, as some would suggest God wants us to do, we're waiting on the side of the new moon. That could be that Saturday or Sunday. So probably looking at 24th, 25th, 26th, somewhere in there. So we'll see. But nonetheless, do keep an eye on Mr. Glick. He is active over there near the Temple Mount, encouraging people to go up and pray on the Temple Mount. And it's just like it says, you have the right to pray on the Temple Mount without the deafening noise of violence. Change the music, so he says. So we'll be watching. Next thing we're going to do is jump to Isaiah 5:20. And my gosh, we are just living in this. This is our world. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I could pick all kinds of stuff, but I'm going to go to the cultural rot that is FX. Its parent company is one Disney. And they have a new cartoon out called Little Demon. And this is Satan's teen daughter. Now, we're going to look at this from a couple of angles. We're going to look at this from the marketing, packaging side. This is Satan's teen daughter. And we're just going to take a look at how Disney and Fox want you to look at this little cartoon. It's just a harmless little cartoon. Everybody relax. 13 years after being impregnated by Satan, a reluctant mother, Laura, and her Antichrist daughter, Chrissy, attempt to live an ordinary life in Delaware, but are constantly thwarted by monstrous forces, including Satan, who yearns for custody of his daughter's soul. Now, I find some of these pictures fascinating. What do we have people being suspended in air all about? We got multiple things: people, animals, cars. I would argue allusions to a rapture. Kind of fascinating. We have the all-seeing eye some of the angels that are discussed in the Old Testament and in the throne room, near the throne room of God, have lots of eyes. All the imagery, I think it means something. But this is how Disney and FX wants you to see this show. And it's just a cartoon. It's just good fun. It's entertainment. And the heroine of the story is a teenage girl, 13-year-old teenage girl. Now, I'm going to take a look at Israel365news.com. And God love him, Adam Berkowitz. He's got a different take on this, and most thankful for this. New Disney animated series features Satan's daughter as the heroine. Little picture of some of the cartoon characters in Little Demon. Premiered August 25th. And let's just read some of this. This is Berkowitz's breakdown. Focuses on Laura and her 13-year-old daughter, Chrissy, who are trying to live an ordinary life in Delaware. Chrissy is the product of Satan raping Laura, who happens to be a practicing witch. Okay, now Danny DeVito plays Satan, wants custody of his daughter's soul in order to train her to be the Antichrist. I mean, so one, the Bible says the Antichrist is a male. Disney says it's a girl, so there's your first little twist and manipulation. The unshaven man, mercenary demon hunter, working for a high-ranking religious leader. These religious leaders. His mission is to kill Chrissy by cutting out her heart with a ritual dagger and banishing Satan from the earth. Of course, he's way too religious, likes his job too much. Laura runs away from Satan to become a single mom. And Chrissy's latent powers appear to be the moment she hits puberty in a dramatic and bloody manner that results in 2 deaths. Couple of minions take her to meet her father, Satan first appears as a grisly biker, but transform into a typical television father figure. Nothing harmless here. Don't worry about it. He loves torture and other grisly acts, but you know how that goes. No big deal. Sneak peek if you want to watch it. And I know some of you guys are probably thinking, why are you even giving this stuff credit? I think it's important because our kids are under assault. And, it's our future. And if you think about it, we had this past weekend at church. Our pastor was talking about Jesus and his disciples. And effectively, you understand the culture of the day in the time of Jesus being a rabbi, his disciples were buying large teenagers, adolescents, arguably anywhere from 10 to probably 18, 19, Peter being the oldest, older than 20. And we know that from the temple tax, that he pulled the temple tax, the shekel. The shekel was to pay for him and Jesus, half shekel apiece. Didn't need shekels for all the other disciples because they weren't old enough to pay the temple tax. And, historically, you look, that was how the culture in that time is that the young boys, adolescents, young men wanted to be a rabbi. They were all in training in their teens. Jesus was no different. He had his following, again, with the exception of Peter. And you think about the timeline of that, John being the youngest, arguably looking at some of the grammar of the Greek, was probably in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 years old, around 30 AD, secluded to Patmos. It's no problem that he wrote that book when he was in his 70s, or, the book of Revelation was written around 90, 95 AD-ish. So it'd be 65 years later from the ministry of Christ, early 30s AD. So a 60-year gap plus 10 to 12, so there he is in his early to mid 70s writing the book of Revelation and banished to the little prison camp out there on the island. So, I mean, from a that standpoint, Satan is just ripping off Jesus and how Jesus essentially used young men to tell his story, the gospel and the good news of Christ. Satan's just trying to do the same thing, except for, Satan, the world, Disney, is going after young girls to do this. So it's a complete ripoff. It's a counterfeit, which, what do you expect? No big deal. But back to little demon, his daughter, the Antichrist, a little upset. He was hoping it would be a boy, but he's praised that his daughter caused the death of 2 boys. So there, typical Disney. Let's kill off a couple of young boys or men, and the woman is the heroine of the show. And I love this. This is a quote from Satan in the show. Tell me if this is not so our culture right here. Don't let other people's moral laws make you think what you did was wrong. Satan said sweetly. Oh, he's so sweet. Together, you and I can create a future without rules. Call your own shots. Live the life you want to live. And isn't that the way we are today? Don't tell me what to do. Don't judge me. Don't give me any restrictions. I'm free to do whatever I want. No consequences. And this show promotes that notion, and then goes on further to explain that he's not in hell. Hell's not real. It's a metaphysical realm. So let's use some technobabble to dress up hell. And that's so. You listen to some of the arguments in the culture. Hell's not real. Well, no, but there's this metaphysical realm. Hipsters call it the fringe, or the central hub for all unearthly realms, comparing it favorably, of course it's a good place, to the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City. So, the reunion between Satan and his Antichrist daughter, it's positive. And he's not Chrissy accepted that what Satan said, that he's not a deadbeat dad. He's really deep down a good guy. He didn't mean to. So we have just this whole thing. Of course, she goes to a school with a woke culture. We're not racist anymore. It's a good school. They don't have those types of abuses taking place there. One thing I did find interesting was DeVito's commentary. Never had a chance to play a demonic character. I think you're going to find that in the show, Satan is really a good guy. The guy was deprived of his spawn, who is a girl, but of course, I thought it was going to be a boy, but the future is female. So, and Laura, she's a pagan. She's a witch. She's jacked. She's cool. So the show is being portrayed as normal, nothing to worry about. It's all good fun. Satan's a good guy. His daughter. I mean, just all these themes. And of course, we had a politician, Republican from Louisiana, speak out about it, and he's being roasted because he's just one of these nutty right wingers, who's speaking out against what he perceives as evil. And again, here we are in the culture. Right is wrong, wrong is right. It's just where we are. But I digress, and I will move on. We'll get into some of the world's geopolitical events. This broke tonight, after hours, of course. This is from CNN, and I tell you what, I'm impressed. CNN actually wrote an article that had some actual facts and some analysis, and was pretty good. It was the best one of all the ones I looked at. And we're talking about a potential freight rail strike. I know people who work in the railroad. I have family who knows people who are working in the railroad industry, and from everything we are hearing, as of Wednesday night about 9:30 Central Time, this thing is a go for a strike, and they are stopping all trains Friday morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, wherever they are, they're shutting them down. Unions are going on strike. That means Amtrak. Amtrak will shut down as of 9/15, so that'd be tomorrow, Thursday, September 15. First potential railway strike in 30 years. And of course, the concern is if you shut this thing down, some estimates I've seen will cost the United States economy close to $2 billion a day as long as this is shut down. These railway lines could cause real damage to the U.S. economy within a week. Strike will mean reduced gas production, spoiled crops, choked off supply of new cars, empty shelves at stores. Commute may be affected, factory workers affected, temporary layoffs. I mean, there's nothing good about this happening. 7,000 long-distance daily freight trains would require more than 460,000 additional long-haul trucks every day. We don't have it. I was talking with a lady today about this, and she helps truck drivers, private truck drivers, contract routes, and prices are going up. Again, we're going to have a supply choke, which will drive up prices. You're going to have the drivers of semis, as it shows a shortage of 80,000 drivers. They're going to demand higher wages because they'll be in such shortage. What they'll be driving around will be increased with cost to move these things around. As such, any rail service disruption will create havoc in the supply chain and fuel inflationary pressures across the board. Well, thankfully, President Biden signed that Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, we've got that going for us. That's working well. Bad inflation numbers yesterday came out, wrecked Wall Street, down about 4 to 5%, depending on which index. This will increase the price of gas, jet fuel, diesel, gasoline, some of this stuff, ethanol's moved pretty much completely by rail. I did not know that. About 300,000 barrels moved by rail each day, volume that could supply about 2 mid-sized refineries, according to data. Keep in mind, we had that fire up in Indiana at that gasoline refinery, that oil refinery. And they don't know when that's going to be coming back online. So if you folks are living in the upper Midwest, this would be a real blow to energy prices. So Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, you're probably going to pay a lot more for gasoline if these folks go on strike in the next, over the next 2 to 3 months. Food prices will be going up. A lot of the grains that are moved around by train go to feed chickens, cattle, the meats, the proteins that we eat. That will be the primary target of a lot of this stuff. So the cost of beef will be going up. The cost of chicken will be going up. Already have a shortage of cars and car parts, computer chips, cars at record high prices. Guess what? Cars aren't moving around by rail. That's going to increase inflationary pressure and prices on cars and trucks. Consumer goods, 27,000 shipping containers are waiting to be loaded onto trains. With no rail, they won't be able to move out of the ports. Also, this is interesting as well. Big typhoon getting ready to hit China at China's largest port city. So there are all kinds of containers loaded up with goodies that are in weather's way via a massive typhoon about to hit the Chinese coast as well. I mean, so we are literally coming up on a perfect storm for a lot of things. Middle of the peak import season. So this is the kind of stuff that could potentially affect Christmas. So as you know, Christmas trees are coming out. It's September. We know Christmas is near. Forget Halloween. We're blowing right by Halloween and Thanksgiving. September, Labor Day. Get the Christmas stuff out. Manufacturing will be affected as well. Material costs will continue to go up, devastate the movement of manufactured products that families depend on. Temporary plant closures affecting jobs. Commuting, specifically Amtrak. I don't know how much this is going to affect Amtrak or affect commuters. But I could be wrong about that. I don't see Amtrak as a primary source of commuting for the American populace. Cars, yes. But anyway, something to keep an eye on. And if they do actually look to shut this thing down like they're talking about on Friday, short the market, baby. That sucker is going to get wrecked. Stock market will get crushed on Friday if they actually go through with this, but we'll see. And this kind of happened earlier in the week or last weekend. We'll switch to Al Jazeera, of all people, reported this. China agrees to pay for Russian gas in rubles and yuan. That's Gazprom. So Gazprom, again, Russia's largest natural gas company. They are going to start paying each other in Russian currency, the ruble, Chinese currency, the yuan. Signed an agreement with China to start paying for gas supplies in China in yuan and rubles instead of US dollars, which is sad because Europe is then turning around and buying this natural gas from China in euro and dollars. And if they're buying it in euro, that's just exacerbating the inflation that's taking place because the euro is nosediving, the dollar's getting stronger, cost of natural gas goes up. So, Russia doesn't care. Russia's making their rubles from the Chinese, and then the Chinese turn around and ship it halfway around the world or across Eurasia. However they do that, whether they go north or swing around all the way to the south, but they charge them huge freight costs, and they have to pay for it if they want it. Again, Russia's Gazprom keeps gas pipeline to Germany turned off. Euro hits new 20-year low after Russia halts gas supplies. So the euro is now less than a dollar, worth less than a dollar. I think it's like 0.98 euro is equal to $1. Is what it is. Again, just another example of how, and that's what's scary because, if we could wake up one of these mornings, and I've talked about this in the past, I know Checkmate and I have talked about this, but if the Saudis decide to start making transactions for payment of their oil and gas in yuan, I mean, we wake up one of these mornings, Lord knows how much we're paying at the pump. Lord knows what that does to our dollar. Again, we're on the precipice of some real potentially crazy things happening. The Chinese real estate market is not in good shape. The whole planet is literally an economic house of cards. And some of you might hear that and think, "Oh, you're just fear porn." That's another thing too. Not trying to scare, trying to inform. You need to think about what's going on. We can wake up in the morning and have a different world economically, politically. And from there, we're going to go to the Caucuses. There we are. We have the Caspian Sea over here on the right. We have the Black Sea over here on the left. We have Turkey. And we're going to zoom in on the Caucasus. In the blue, we primarily have, part of Armenia is really this whole part right here. And then we have Azerbaijan over here. Now, depending on who you listen to, it sounds like Azerbaijan is invading Armenia. As of a few hours ago, the Security Council of Armenia says that Yerevan and Baku, the capitals, Yerevan in Armenia, Baku in Azerbaijan, reached an agreement for a truce. They've tried some of these previously. They didn't hold. Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Democrat Adam Schiff, Azerbaijan must stop attacking and terrorizing Armenian civilians. And the U.S. and its allies must unequivocally condemn Azeri actions. Today, we introduce a resolution with a resounding message. No more U.S. support for Azerbaijan. It must pay for its belligerence. Now, who supports who in this whole thing is crazy. And I'll go to a post I made, and they were scrapping a couple of years ago about this time of the year. Azerbaijan is viewed as a secular country in the Muslim world, mostly, Shia. Quarter of the population, mostly Shia Muslims. Armenia is predominantly a Christian nation, Armenian Orthodox, the Armenian Apostolic Church. Countries supporting Azerbaijan include Turkey, Pakistan, and Israel. Countries supporting Armenia, the Christian country, include Russia, India, and Iran. I mean, you just have this. It makes no sense. And then in the midst of all this, you have Russia, Turkey, and Iran, all buddies, getting ready to go invade Israel at some point here in the future. And that's why we care about this. And, it's between the land between the two seas. So it's critical for the distribution of oil and gas. And that's why Putin's interested. That's why they're all interested. It's about the movement and the economics of oil and gas. So, again, you want to take a look at that. Some of the activity that's taken place over the last couple of days. Here's an article from DW, German news outlet. Armenia announces ceasefire agreement with Azerbaijan. Truce after 2 days of shelling near the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Though Azerbaijani Defense Ministry has yet to confirm the development. And again, this was from earlier tonight, a couple, 3 hours ago. Participation of the international community, a ceasefire has been reached. It's the Secretary of Armenia's Security Council. Went into effect 8 p.m. local time Wednesday. Azerbaijan has yet to comment. Both countries blamed each other for the initial provocation. 2 days of shelling and more than 150 soldier casualties. I've heard over 100 dead. There's some video out on Twitter and TikTok and different places where they're showing the dead as trophies and celebrating, of course. So worth watching. And that's kind of where we are. It kind of feels like the calm before the storm. Who knows what's getting ready to happen? We got the fall feast coming up here in about, 10 days to 2 weeks. I would say less than 2 weeks. We've already had the full moon. So the moon will be getting smaller, eventually will disappear, and then the new sliver will emerge, and we have a new month, and in this case, a new civil year. God says the new year begins in the spring. Humanity, Israeli humanity, and their calendar want to start it in the fall. So at the seventh month. The law says it's the seventh month on the Jewish calendar, the Hebrew calendar. So since when does things start with 7? I thought it started with 1, but I digress. So appreciate you guys following along. Expecting news flow to pick up. It just does every time this year. And I'm expecting something big economically to happen. No idea what it's going to be. We got plenty of catalysts. Could be multiple things, cascading effects, maybe nothing. But again, it's the end of a sabbatical set. It's the end of a 7th year or a sabbatical or Shemitah year. Crazy things tend to happen going back to 2015, 2008, 2000, 93, 80, 87, or 94. I'm sorry, 87. Happens in every 7 years. Go figure. Lines up with God's law. something to think about. I know some of you people have not heard this stuff, think, okay, dude, you're crazy. It's what it is. Anyhow, appreciate y'all following along. Wish you the best. We'll be in touch. Take care. Bye.